Man, if you can, at this time, do me a favor, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, how old you are, where you're from, and what it is that you do.
My name is Josh. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm 42 years old, and I am a lawyer.
Very nice. And if you can remind me, do a little flashback here. How many weeks back was it that you joined the first initial program, the accelerated method program? Do you know how many weeks back that was?
That was about 11 weeks ago. So I think I'm in week 11 right now of the program.
Okay, so about 11, close to 3 months ago. And if you can, just if at this time, share with me, why is it that you joined? You know, what was life like back for you then? What problems were you facing? And just how did you feel overall?
So I've always been fairly conscious of, my body image or what I weighed, or I have always fought that battle really every morning with the scale. I was infatuated with the scale and what I weighed. And for the last, 10 to 15 years, I would decide that, okay, this month I'm going to starve myself and I'm going to run a lot. And, I could probably drop 10 pounds doing that. And I would do that. So for probably, from 28 years old to 40, I would go on these binge sessions, so to speak, where I would just say, okay, I'm going to eat 500 calories a day and run 5 miles a day. And quite frankly, for years, that was the way I lived, in a cyclical way, off and on. And I was miserable a lot of the time because I was starving, I was running. But what happened was I turned 40, and I'd always heard that, but never believed it, because things I was doing was kind of working, right? Even though I kind of felt like I was cheating my way through life, as far as, trying to stay fit through starvation and running. But when I hit 40, it became a different story. My old tricks weren't working. I was starving for nothing. I was running a lot, and then it started to not work for me anymore. And I hit a wall. I let that go for about 2 years. From 40 to 42, my weight was up. I was unhappy. I was starting to snap at people. I was upset with the way things were going, and I didn't know how to fix it. And I was spinning my wheels big time.
I see. So you you hit a point, you put in some valid effort for over a decade. But with that effort, you almost found yourself, it was like a roller coaster, because every time you would try to go do something, you'd like you said, you starve yourself, you feel miserable. And then it was kind of, you got results on the scale, but maybe weren't necessarily happy with the end state. And then once turned 40, things kind of shifted completely to where that 2-year period, you were trying the old tricks, but even the old tricks weren't working anymore. So you were just spinning your wheels on how do I get out of this?
That's exactly right. I mean, I was never in a position where I was, super overweight. I was fighting the battle, but I was fighting it in a way that I was no longer winning. After 40 years old, there's no doubt there was a change, and I was really frustrated and starting to feel hopeless. And I was starting to take it out on myself, take it out on others. I had no plan, because my old tricks were no longer working. I was freaking out.
I get it, man. And how bad did it get for you? Like, even within that 2-year period before you and I connected, how bad did it get for you? And specifically, what toll did it start to take on your life personally and professionally?
So I can specifically recall avoiding outdoor activities with my family, avoiding things I used to love to do, like go to the lake and go jet skiing. If somebody were to have said that, I would have thought, no, I can't do that because I'm not in good enough shape. I don't want to do that because I'm ashamed of myself. So I would avoid those things, stop doing them altogether, miss out on opportunities, probably be a lot more of a bummer to my friends and family than I even realized. And I started to resent and regret the way that I was living, because I attributed it to my inability to really pull myself together and enjoy it. So I reached a point, about 3 months ago, where I started to consider, I need help. I can't do this on my own with my old smoke and mirrors tricks, and I don't know what to do. And I was at a real low point, and I just couldn't pull out of it on my own.
Get it? So it got to that point where you started noticing whether it was doing things that you actually enjoyed in the past, you started to kind of tailor that back. You weren't even doing those things. Family time wasn't necessarily as much as you want, and when it came to doing activities and stuff. And so that started, well, as you said, maybe your attitude started pouring over with how you were feeling inside.
Correct. There's no doubt that I avoided outdoor activities, didn't do things with my family, and I have a teenage daughter and a young son. I would knowingly avoid certain things with them and deprive them of experiences outdoors and with me and together as a family because I was just not feeling it. And I was upset with myself because I knew what I was doing to them, yet either refused to fix it or probably more so didn't know how to fix it or where to start. And that's a real low place to be because it affected me so much and I knew I was doing it to others.
See. And so when you had joined the program, say a few months back, what has life been like for you over these past few months? Like what has your experience been like working amongst you and me? And what has it meant to you and for you?
It's very helpful from day one to have a coach that was in my corner and who I felt, supported me and was excited about my journey. And I trusted that.
What I want to know is now that you've gotten and you've experienced that up until now, what specific results have you gotten from being in here, just within this short period of time, just coming in still in the midst of, I guess, 10, 11 weeks here?
The first thing that I noticed within a couple of days was the energy level picked up. If I look back on myself 3 months ago, I would close my door at work, lay on a couch for 2 or 3 hours and do emails. I was productive, but I was just exhausted. So in my mind, I was like, I'm working. This is okay. And on paper, it was okay, but I was just depleted, exhausted, no energy. In the first week, I had energy all day long, sustainable energy that I had never had. I had not had that for years. And still to this day in week 11, I maintain that. And so that was the fastest result I got was the energy level that picked up immediately. And once that happened, my mindset was so much happier and optimistic and goal-oriented. It has really changed my mentality, now in the 3rd month. So I couldn't be happier. We haven't even talked about the physical results, but it's the energy and the mindset and the optimism and how I look forward to the day instead of waking up exhausted. That does not happen anymore.
Love that.
And I couldn't be happier in that regard. So the mental and the emotional and the energy that I have now compared to what I was before is quite dramatic and worth the price alone.
That is huge, man. I mean, just because I recall you had mentioned in the beginning that exhausted feeling. Of course, going throughout the day, you were productive, you were getting stuff done, but you just felt like the energy was just, as you said, not there from an all-day perspective. So now you're experiencing that. That is big, as well as the mental shift. What would you say has shifted in terms of from an inches standpoint or weight standpoint, from where you were at the beginning up until now?
At the time, I was about 194 pounds. So as of today, I'm down 10 pounds.
Yes.
Which is great. And I could tell you I'm down, several inches in my gut, several inches in my chest, several inches in my waist. I look in the mirror and I go, oh my gosh, I'm truly a different person than I was 11 weeks ago.
Yeah, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, more leaner, defined, would you say? I mean, just from your recent progression photo.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I would never have taken my shirt off 11 weeks ago. Never have done it because I was embarrassed. I was, a little sloppy, out of shape, feeling down on myself. In 11 weeks, I think I've come to a point where I don't feel like that anymore. I feel more confident today at 184 than I ever did starving at 172 because of the body recomposition process. I have far more muscle now at 184 than I did, being really hungry at 172. It's amazing. I feel better now at 42 years old than I did at I believe I was 33 years old when I was starving and at 172.
That is incredible, man. That is incredible. And once you created these results for yourself, so energy was up, mentally you're seeing a different shift, 10 pounds down, inches dropped in the belly, you're liking who you're seeing, feeling good when taking the shirt off. What else changed for you? Like, what else was different?
I had a positive outlook on my day. I had the energy to lead my team at work. So we can talk about that for a second. When you're tired, when you're down, when you know where you're not supposed to be, you're not where you want to be, you don't have the energy for anybody, whether it's your family, your spouse, your kids, significant other, let alone before you ever get to your work team, who depends on you to be their leader, but you're behind closed doors, laying on your couch, exhausted, barely moving your thumbs, doing emails. I mean, how are you supposed to lead those people? They probably weren't looking at me with much confidence at the time, and I didn't even realize it. Now, I feel like I have the energy, I have more mental clarity. I tackle projects faster, which has allowed me to really accomplish a lot more in a day and a week and a month than I used to even 3 months ago. That's been really, really big.
That is big. And I mean, so for you, you have all these, your team and everyone relying on you, of course, your family as well, but with the team at work, you knew that, hey, if this energy is not on point, that maybe the direction you were giving or whatever it might be, that it just may be a little bit off, or now you're noticing the polar opposite where energy's there and you're noticing the shift in how you lead the team and go about producing tasks every single day.
Correct. Because I have the confidence and the energy and a more positive outlook, I'm feeling better. I know that the results are looking back at me in the mirror. I feel that I can do more in a day. And I think that spreads to my teammates. I think that spreads to my family. My wife is very excited about the progress that I've made, and it's really been a win-win all around.
Knowing that this has kind of all come together from you following the plan, remaining committed, putting forth the effort. I know you spent a decade doing a lot of different things. You mentioned just the experiences with whether it was personal trainers or solo on your own with certain fad diets. What I'm curious to know is anything that you've ever experienced before, how has this been different from anything you've ever experienced?
This program has helped me achieve consistency that I never have had before. I was somewhat of a self-starter with my so to speak fitness, for the past 15 years, where I would, I'd not eat much for 4 days and lose 4 or 5 pounds and call it good.
Right.
But I was the most inconsistent person I had ever met. I was up and down and up and down and up and down. And even my ups were not great and didn't last very long. So for the first time really in my life, I have found consistency in the way I live my day, in the way that I move, in the way that I eat, in the way that I hydrate, in the energy that I have, the motivation, and has allowed me to really develop that. And that's been such a relief, because I've been on this roller coaster for 15, 20 years. It's exhausting. I no longer feel exhausted on my pathway because it's reasonable, it's sustainable, and it's consistent. And that's invaluable.
Well, I love that you took that away from here, because that's going to serve you well outside of here. Because like I told you, I think probably right in the beginning, and I tell all my other clients this as well, the currency of your results in anything comes down to consistency. So I'm glad you took that away from this and actually experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to personally thank you for what you've done for my life, for my family, for my law firm of 100 people that look to me to help them. It really comes back to you and your ability to guide, to coach, to support me, and give me a hope that I could do it. And then I had to take it from there. But there's no doubt that I would not be where I am talking like this if it were not for you, your program, your methods, and your consistency. It's been amazing, and I want to truly thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome, and I appreciate that. I'm flattered, but man, it all comes back to you, man, because this means nothing if you didn't apply it, and you've applied it every single step of the way. So this is all credit goes to you, man. You've created all this for yourself. So, and I've just been along for the ride, and I've enjoyed it. And so, knowing though that you have experienced this now, and there's like, if you want to call it a light at the end of the tunnel, if you want to use that cliche or whatever, what, before entering, because you kind of mentioned it a little bit, what was your biggest worry or concern about joining this initial program? Like what was your biggest worry or concern?
Probably the fact that I'm across the country. So, we can talk about that for a second. I'm in Nevada. You're on the East Coast. And, when I came up with the thought that I may want to do that, I told my wife, I came across this guy. He's in South Carolina, and she goes, "Get out of here with that, get out of here with that."
What are you, nuts?
But in this age where everything a lot of things have moved to Zoom, it's way more acceptable to do things by video conferencing. Now is the time. I thought that is far more doable than it was even a year ago, 2 years ago. And considering that my other option of going to the gym and, being driven down by a personal trainer, I didn't want to do that. So I almost liked the distance between you and I in the beginning, because it allowed me my own independence. But I quickly realized that you weren't far away, that we were texting, we were on a Facebook group, we were talking to each other, we were Zoom calling on a regular basis. So the distance ultimately meant nothing, but I can say that it was an absolute amazing experience, and the distance was quite irrelevant ultimately.
And we added on to that, we know that the concern was, how's this going to work? We're super far away. But now I want to know, what were you really skeptical about when you made the decision to start?
I didn't want to throw my money away.
Okay.
So, there's a cost to these things, right? And I had done things before. I had done fad diets, I'd thrown money at personal trainers. I'd thrown money at surgical procedures. I'd thrown my money all over the place. There's a cost to these things. And is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be worth it for my money? That was a concern, particularly with the remoteness. Was I going to stick to it? Was Logan going to fail, or was I going to fail, or was the distance part of it too much to overcome for the price? Turns out none of that was true, that everything worked out, and I don't regret any part of it at all.
Yeah, well, those are all valid things to be skeptical about, right? It's called, you're a human being, so I understand those clearly. But what I want to know from you is, what did the program do at the core to really alleviate your skepticism?
The structure and the time that you put into this program alleviated my concerns, paved the way, allowed me to anticipate what was coming, be it ups or downs in the program. I knew it was coming, so I felt prepared. And so I wasn't surprised by anything. You had told me what was coming and what to expect, and I hit it head on. And it was because of the preparation that you put into the program that made that all the more easy for me. So your preparation and the work you've done in this program is quite phenomenal. This does not compare to your typical show up at the gym, meet the personal trainer, he counts to 10 for an hour and you go home. This is not what we're talking about. This is immense preparation and work on your part that has translated into my success, and I'm very grateful for it.
What I guess going backwards just a tiny bit here to finish this off, all the concerns and the skepticism that you had were all valid, right? And all those things can happen, right? Before you enter into anything new, I know it can be like, what's going to happen here? How's this going to go about? And I guarantee you, if there is some guy watching back this right now, if he's made it this far, he's probably thinking the same things you were thinking. And he might be thinking, well, man, I've done things before. I've failed in the past. I've thrown money at this. You know, I don't really know where this is going to go about, but he's really skeptical. Like, he's got all the concerns. He may even have more than you had. What would you say to him or anyone who is considering either reaching out through an email like you did, or filling out the form, or getting, connecting? They're really on the fence right now. What would you say to them right now based on your experience up until this point?
I recall watching the videos, the testimonials that you had, and thinking, that would be great, but that's so far away. That would be great, but I don't know what it takes to get there. The only thing I could tell you is just do it and start the clock. By starting the clock and just jumping in, as long as you're consistent with it, you will get results. And it's not even just physical. It's the energy, the emotional, the mental stability and confidence, even before the physical results start, which came quickly. But there's no doubt, like, you got to do it, because it truly changed my life and improved literally every facet of my existence. And I'm 11 weeks into it. So you got my vote of confidence. So I think you should do it.